Hi guys, welcome to Blam Partners Inner Circle Live. We do this broadcast every Wednesday and we do a deep dive into different parts of the Blam certification. We go into a deep dive to do all things Blam. And today I'm excited to talk to you about something that cropped up with one of our very experienced Blam partners. And just to put this into context, guys, if you're watching this, you're either a Blam partner running your own digital agency, you might be a budding entrepreneur, or you might be somebody that's thinking of starting their own agency. And we've got a process that is an evergreen process to help our partners make sales. And that process is defined in our partner training, which is over 3 hours long of the process, step by step, on how to sell digital marketing services to small businesses. And it works anywhere in the world. However, your journey of becoming an experienced entrepreneur and experienced in sales means that you'll always be fine-tuning that process. And when I spoke to one of our most experienced partners, very successful guy earlier this week, there were just some little fine-tuning, little bits that needed looking at that I thought would be interesting to deep dive into today, just to help other Blam partners and other people with their digital agency. And it's been a while since I've done a full-on sales training session on the Wednesday Inner Circle. So I've broadened this out to a broader audience as well, because I think if you run your own agency or if you're in business, you're going to find this really, really useful. So let's kick off by talking about how we first and foremost think about consolidating appointments that we have booked. So I've got the whiteboard today because I may well be doing some scribbling on here, but what we're talking about is appointment consolidation. Okay. Now, really, really important part of the sales process, because for most of us, when we book an appointment, that is a win. We think to ourselves, fantastic, we've got an appointment, and in our head, it's in the diary, it's set in stone. But for our prospects, that appointment is nowhere near as important in their minds most of the time as it is in yours, particularly if the appointment is for what might be a free audit, or it could be a straightforward appointment to talk about their marketing materials or their website. It may not necessarily be as important in their world as it is in yours. So consolidating that appointment is absolutely fundamental to your results. Because if you're booking, let's take round numbers, 10 appointments a week, for example, and you're only getting 5 of them show up, 5 of them aren't showing up or pushing you to the next week, you're 50% less likely to get sales, 50% down on your potential. If you can increase the increment to 70%, then you're going to increase the sales at the end. So right at the beginning of your sales funnel, you've booked the appointment. Let's make sure we get consolidated. So here's some tips for things that we do. Now, number one, and this is really important, and that is get them to confirm in their calendar whilst they're on the phone. And that's and what I'm talking about here is telephone appointments. If you're booking a telephone appointment, a bit more difficult to do this if you've booked it via email, or if they've booked it through the calendar, fantastic. But you want to make sure that if they're using Google, that they've confirmed the appointment. So get them to confirm whilst on the phone. So that would mean, yeah, hiya John, brilliant. I've just sent you the appointment invite. Would you do me a favor and just check that it's come through to you, so I've got the right email? Now, sometimes they might be driving, or they might say they haven't got access to their emails, but in most instances they should go, yeah, I've got it. Just do me a favor, would you, John? And just click yes to confirm that appointment, and that will confirm it. It will block it out in my diary, and it will block it out in yours, and then we know that we've got it set in there. Would you be able to do that for me? And then you wait. So being organized enough to send out the invite whilst you're on the phone, and then ask them to confirm whilst on the phone, can make the world of difference, because once somebody's got it in their diary and it is confirmed, they're going to get the reminders. And that's going to make a big difference to your show-up rate. Number 2, and again, this is whilst they're on the phone, you want to ask them, is there anything that may stop you attending? Now, that can be quite an uncomfortable thing to ask in some instances. And I remember when I was in my early stages of learning sales, asking that question felt really uncomfortable to me, and I would often forget or avoid asking it. So the way I soften it is I go, I just want to double check, is there anything that you think that could stop you from attending that appointment, the school run or, any other appointments? Because if they say, well, I might have something crop up with business, or, I could get called away for X, Y, Z. You could say, well, would you prefer to book it out of hours then? Would you prefer to do the appointment at a different time? Because they need to understand the value of your time at that point, because it's really important that we don't get overly needy and that we don't end up being too subservient to the prospect, because it's very natural for us to be all subservient, to be all yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir at that point. But we need to control this process every single step of the way to make these micro incremental improvements so that we get the show-up rate that is the absolute optimum. So we want to say, is there anything that might stop you attending the appointment, the school run, or is there anything that's likely to crop up? Impressing upon them that your time is valuable. So consolidating the appointment. If you get those 2 things nailed down, very simply, it can massively improve your show-up rate. Now, once they're off the phone, we've still got plenty of work to do with consolidating the appointment. You need to make sure that you've got your reminders set up in your calendar so that they get notified. Now, if you've got it set up in the Blam CRM, or if you're using your own appointment system, you want to make sure that you've got reminders via email at least twice, at least 2 times prior to the appointment. We want to be trying to book appointments in at least 48 hours from where the phone call is. No further back if we can help it. 48 hours is the optimum. Everything past 48 hours, the show-up rate's going to nosedive. So 48 hours is the optimum to get people booked in. If somebody's going to say, oh yeah, I can do you next week or the week after, their show-up rate's going to be very low. So you want to make sure you've got a 48-hour window that you want to apply yourself to. So we want at least 2 emails leading up to that. I think I'm live. I am live. I've got people watching. Somebody's just asked me if I'm on live. I've gone live. I think I'm live. We've got emails too. And then we also want text message. Now, again, if you're using the Blam CRM, that will be automated in your appointment booking system. Here's my preferred one. Text message is great, but my absolute favorite is WhatsApp. So when you're at this stage up here, before you've actually confirmed the appointment, you'd be saying to them, do you use WhatsApp? Because I don't know about you, I find WhatsApp a really convenient way of messaging. If I can drop you a line on WhatsApp, if anything crops up in between, or you can't make the appointment, or you want to ask any questions, just use WhatsApp. I find that the best way. Though the reason we love WhatsApp is because of the double blue tick. The double blue tick lets us know if our prospects are paying attention to us. It lets us know when they're online, and it lets us know if they're ghosting us or not. So the double blue tick on WhatsApp is absolute genius from a sales perspective. So if you get them on WhatsApp, and I know some of you guys in the States aren't that fond of WhatsApp, it's not quite as popular as some of the others, but WhatsApp is awesome for the double blue tick, because from a sales perspective, it's an ace. So if you can get them on WhatsApp, that is absolutely fantastic. And I would send them a WhatsApp, even though you've got the automation, on the morning of the appointment, if it's on the afternoon, or the evening before, just saying, just checking you're still good for the appointment, looking forward to seeing you there. And if it's an online appointment, I would send a link to the Google or the Zoom link or whatever it might be, so that you can consolidate it. So when you set your appointments, when you've got your appointment set, and in your mind, and this is a telephone appointment. That's my picture of a telephone. Remember those? Telephones that look like that. In fact, they used to be like this, didn't they? That used to be the telephone. Love my little icons. So when you set your appointments, your work is only 30% done. You've then got to get it consolidated, because the most important thing is getting them to sign up. So don't get all excited booking appointments, because if you're not doing this, people aren't going to show. Right, so you've done this, you've consolidated. If you can, and a partner that I was speaking to earlier in the week, if you've got somebody else working in your business, get them to phone to confirm the appointment. What that's going to do, it's going to elevate your authority, and it's going to make you look more important, which means that your time is more important, and therefore, again, your prospect is more likely to show up. Now, because of the nature of the business that you run as a Bland partner, you're typically going to be booking either a 73-point marketing audit, which is a fantastic tool to help you get the attention and help your prospect with their marketing, or you're going to be doing you're going in there to do a website presentation. Now, John touched on this. John Gay, the partner coach, touched on this on Friday when we did the Road to Success seminar. And there's a certain little nugget that he threw out there that I want to dive into a little bit more. Because if you've done this great work here, and it has led to the appointment showing up, you are now in the audit and presentation stage. And there's something that John touched on that I think was worth a deeper dive. And I went into this with one of our Bland partners earlier this week from the nugget. Remember what I said, guys, at the beginning of the Road to Success? And if you haven't seen it on whatever platform that you're looking on, if you look right below this one, it's likely to be the previous thing that we did. Every time you see a little presentation like this, it only takes one thing, one little nugget that you can take away from a presentation like this, or like the one that we did on the Road to Success seminar, that can change your business. One of these little actions can make all the difference to your numbers and can increase the amount of sales that you make. Now, the one little nugget that John talks about was the point at which do you decide to go down your audit route, or whether you go down your straightforward presentation. Let me explain, let me put some context into this. So, Bland partners, your process that you've been taught is that you go from booking the appointment, consolidating the appointment, arriving at the appointment, and most times the prospect is expecting you to do a 73-point audit. Now, let me explain the purpose of the audit, and this is the 73-point audit that we teach you. It's an absolutely fantastic tool to use because it has several benefits in the way that it is being delivered. Number one, it doesn't take long to master it. So if you're a brand new partner, if you are given the training, the 73-point audit is very easy to conduct. You only need to practice it a few times and you'll find it very easy. And the reason it's very easy is because it's you questioning the prospect 73 times. And those 73 questions are going to help you build a picture of what that prospect is like in their business with their marketing. And that then gives you the advantage of understanding a bit about where they are with their business. Now, from the prospect's point of view, there's several things going on when you're asking all these questions. First thing is that in their mind, you are building authority. Think of it like when you go to the doctors. If you go to the doctor and the doctor sits down with you and just says straight away, take these pills and you'll feel better next week, you're going to think that's really weird. Whereas if the doctor starts asking you lots of questions about how you're feeling and what the symptoms are, and asking you deeper questions, in your mind, you're thinking, this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy's got some real knowledge. He's asking some really intelligent questions. Now, the 73-point audit does that for us. even if we aren't very experienced, because we've got all these different marketing tools, some of which they won't have heard of, and therefore it elevates the authority of you in their mind. And that's a really useful tool. It also does some other things. It makes them feel uncomfortable, because most of the time they either haven't heard of some of these things or they know they're not doing them and should be. And that then starts to make them feel uncomfortable. Because you're not answering any questions that they give to you, you're purely answering questions to them. And even if they do ask about it, you're moving forward. Again, you're building a bit of tension, you're building your authority, and they're starting to feel uncomfortable and a bit bad. And what you're going to do at the end of it is rescue them. Now, when you become an experienced marketer, when you've got a bit of experience under your belt, the 73-point audit isn't necessarily the thing to use. You don't necessarily have to use it, or you don't have to use it quite the same way, because as you get experience, you can swap the audit for the presentation. But prior to this, questions about their business, questions about their marketing, questions about their experience, and asking all the questions, because just like a doctor, you need to find out what their ailment is. You've got to try and figure out where their pain is, what it is that the problem is that you need to see if you've got the tools to fix. Notice what I said there. You've got to see if you've got the tools to fix their problem. You might not have, or at least that's the approach that you take. Just like a doctor will be going, I see, what about this? What about that? They don't know, or they don't come across like they can fix it until they've answered or had all their questions answered. And in the same way, don't go in with the attitude of being presumptuous that you can fix their problem, because that is salesy, and that will push them away. What you're doing is you're being the doctor of marketing that's asking all these questions to see if there is a way that you can help them. And there might not be. And that is the attitude. Now, we know in nearly all instances, there's going to be something that we can do to help them. But we don't have that presumptuous attitude, because that comes across as salesy. We've got to be consultants, a consultative approach. So when you become experienced, and you become experienced at being able to find their pain, to dig under the bonnet and have a really good mooch around and figure out what their problem is, these questions can lead to the presentation in the same way that the audit would lead to the presentation. Because ultimately, the goal is to build trust, to build authority, and to find out as much about their business. Because guess what, guys? We genuinely do want to help them. We do want to help this prospect come to the point where they can see that we've got the tools to help them, and that we can take away their pain, and we can do it at a price that they feel is great value compared to, the cost versus what the value that they're going to get. And that's the way that the presentation then evolves, to be able to give them that overall view, that feeling that I can trust this person, they know what they're talking about, they've asked me lots of questions, they really seem to understand their business, they've provided their solution that they suggest, and because of the way that the whole process has gone, you become a safe pair of hands. And that's really important, is that safe pair of hands that can support them on their journey. Because most of the people that we deal with, let's face it, in nearly all cases, they've either had very little experience in marketing. A lot of them have had bad experiences with their marketing. A lot of them feel like they're hard done by. And a lot of the time, we're dealing with people not that they're looking for their first website or their first marketing agency, but really they're looking to find somebody that they can trust. They're looking to find somebody that they resonate with, that isn't going to charge them too much money or give them poor service or you blind them with science. They're looking for somebody that they can relate to. And that's why what we find is with a lot of people in sales, when you start working with people, because we're an entrepreneurial organisation, most of our Bland partners will be speaking to other business owners. You make a lot of friends in business because we're on the same wavelength. And if you're delivering the right business, the right kind of work to them, and they're getting results, you're going to form relationships for life. You're going to form friends for life. And that's the great thing about the business that we're in. So I would love to know if anybody has got any questions about those particular subjects, because these deep dives, I'd like to do a few more of these so that I can just dig under the bonnet of the sales process and chip away at all these little variables that you get. Because if you're in business, you're in sales, and there's so many little idiosyncrasies that can make the difference. You know, just one of these on its own can make a noticeable difference to your numbers, can make a noticeable difference to your results. The way in which you practice these and you get good at questioning. When I was going through my sales journey with my sales training, this bit here, the questioning, I found really tough, guys. I found it because I didn't like how it made the prospect feel uncomfortable, which made me feel uncomfortable. And that was something that I wasn't very comfortable with, for want of a better word. Now, I want to leave you with something that I heard the other day that is a fascinating thing, because whenever we teach sales, whenever we're talking to our partners, we can often get pushback on some of the things that we ask people to do because they don't feel comfortable doing it. Guys, if I didn't do the things in my business that made me feel uncomfortable, I wouldn't have a business. And the thing that I heard was from a neuroscientist that was talking about when we do things that make us feel uncomfortable, when we do things that we really don't want to do, there's a cortex in our brain that actually grows when we do this. And I'm so happy I read this because they said that those people that regularly do the things that make them feel uncomfortable, but they do them anyway, have got a really enlarged cortex, can't remember the name of it, they live longer. It's actually attributed to a longer life. So putting yourself outside your comfort zone is now proven to extend your life. And the great news is, guys, if you're an entrepreneur, you've got so many opportunities to be outside your comfort zone. I haven't even talked about the bit before this where we book appointments. That is the easiest win ever. And for me to be stood here doing these kind of presentations in the first place, I've gone through so many uncomfortable scenarios. I cannot list them. To be able to just to be able to present like this was a really difficult one for me. Every step of my sales journey, I found deeply uncomfortable. And it's why I'm so passionate about teaching it to others, because it can be literally life-changing. It can make you open doors, windows in your mind that you never knew you had, build your confidence, build your skills in business, in life. And it's why I'm so passionate about it. And I rarely find a super successful entrepreneur that isn't willing to do the kind of things that make them feel uncomfortable. In fact, that would be a unicorn. Because at some point in your life, guys, you have to do the things you don't really want to do in order to get to the next step. And in sales, you'll find loads of them. With that said, drop any comments in the chat. Happy to answer any questions about what we've talked about. Bland Partners, you know how to get hold of us. Please do. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care.